Welcome to Surfside Stories. I am so honored today to have sitting here beside me not only one of my best friends, but one of the best entertainers in the beach music field. This man has covered songs. There's nothing he can't sing. I've heard him sing, good stuff, new stuff, old stuff. It doesn't matter. It's all good. He brings the crowd out, and it's because he's got style and he's got talent, and I love my man here, Mr. Gary Lowder.
Well, thank you, Wayne. That's kind of you to say that.
Well, I think what we'd like to talk about a little bit, brother, we know who you are now.
Yeah.
We won't know who you were then. Now, you and I both grew up about 10 miles from each other.
Yes, we
back
did.
in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Tell me how you got from the China Grove area to where you are today.
Okay, well, back in the day, back when we were in high school, we had a little band called the Twilights. It all started there. We were all teenagers. And that band, when we all graduated in 1970, which was back there a few years, we were on the road that summer, and we were wound up in Washington, D.C., of all places. And we were playing at a nightclub there in Washington, D.C. We got a phone call before the gig was over, and it was a booking agent who had gotten us a job in Hollywood, Florida. Now, talk about rowdy. If you look on a map, that's a jump. From Washington,
yes, it is.
to Washington, D.C., to Hollywood, Miami, Hollywood. And
I presume you hadn't bought all the equipment trucks that you had at that time.
No. This was a high school band. I think we had a 5x8 trailer and just, the basic necessities. And we did have some ruffle shirts and some white patent leather shoes, though.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And some purple jumpsuits. That was a big thing back in the day.
Oh.
And I'll never forget, as we were riding down the freeway, there was a pair of binoculars in the van, and it was, we had a horn section, a rhythm section. There was about 8 or 9 of us, and we were all long-haired high school kids, and we were just ready to go to the next stop. And anyway, I picked the binoculars up, and I was looking up at the horizon, and I saw what I thought was a billboard. It said Marco Polo. And I said, it's a Marco Polo. That's where we're playing, at the Marco Polo Hotel. Marco Polo Lounge. And I'm thinking to myself, I wonder what kind of dive this is going to be. It didn't sound like a very big deal to me. But when we got there, was I surprised? It was like a 15-story hotel, all glass and brass, and it was like, oh, you talk about intimidation factor hitting the guys and me. We walked up the steps, walked in the lobby, and there was a little marquee there, a glass marquee and casement that had our picture with our purple jumpsuits and our white patent leather shoes. I said, we all looked at each other and we looked at this building, and the guy said, well, we'll take you down to the lounge. He said, this place has got 3 different lounges, and one of them's called the Swinger Lounge. He said, that's the lounge you boys you'll be the opening, the warm-up act. Not the main act, but the warm-up act. And so we went down and looked at it, and there was some trampolines. It's where the girls would swing on the trampolines. And
wow.
And this place held about 2,000 people.
Did that distract you when they were doing that? Did that distract you? Did they do that while you were singing?
Oh yeah. Everything distracted us. We were overwhelmed. And anyway, the first night that we performed, Wayne Cochran and the CC Riders was the headliner, and that was a big, large production band. They had 2 drummers, a conga player, 2 keyboard players. They had 2 of everything, and an army of horn players. I mean, they just looked like an army lined up across the stage. And so we got up and we started playing at 10:30 at night. We played at 5:30 in the morning. Yeah, every other hour. The main act did 2 shows. And we did every other hour, but we continued to play at 5:30 in the morning.
Wow.
So now we were a bunch of high school kids that had a normal schedule, bedtime,
Yep.
And I mean, we stayed up late once in a while, but not. We were there for 2 weeks. So the first night we got up and we gave it our best shot with all of our horn songs we played and some choreography with our ruffle shirts on. And you had to be there.
Oh, wish we had a video of that.
I wish we did too. It's so good. So at the end of the night, I remember we walked up to the manager. We had a little meeting in the dressing room. We said, "Man, we're in trouble here, man. We're just not good enough to be playing with the bands that are, that guy that Wayne Cochran guy. I mean, I don't know if you know anything about that band, but I mean, they're like a household word in Florida.
Yeah.
Across, he's
yeah.
passed on now, but that was a big time band. And we asked the guy, literally, we just asked him straight up and said, "Look, we appreciate the opportunity, but could you just fire us and let us go home?"
You did not.
Yeah, we did.
Well, what was his name?
Well, I don't remember. I don't remember his name, but he said, you guys need to just settle down, calm down. He said, "You guys are not the main act. You're not the main act. You're the warm-up band." And he said, "You guys were fine." He said, "Really, you did a good job." And I'm thinking, well, he's just trying to make us feel good. And we probably did a good job. We probably were fine. We were just so intimidated. I mean, this band, they had about 8 horn players, and they literally shook the dressing room wall when they played. They were playing the old Otis Redding songs. The guy really couldn't sing. He's like a Joe Cocker.
Okay.
That kind of voice. And anyway, in the second week it was Wilson Pickett and the Four Seasons and 3 Degrees. And one night we were out in the audience listening to Wilson Pickett, and I looked over to my left, and there was Kenny Rogers and Lou Rawls having a conversation. And I'm thinking to myself, "Oh man, this is like
at that time in your life, at that age, to be even in the same room with them, and to be opening for the groups and these other guys.
Yeah,
that's gotta be wonderful.
Well, it'll be great. Like I say, the group was called the Twilights, and that was kind of a lightweight name, a high school band. So the one thing that we did have a takeaway from that experience is when we came back home, we decided just to unplug the band for a couple months and just do nothing but rehearse for 2 months and learn some really not difficult music, but different music, different material, and change the name of the band. We changed the name of the band to Hot Smokin Brass. And that's where I got a piece of the name of my group now, Smokin Hot.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah, and so the boys, they rehearsed hard for a couple months, and after that, they went on the road, and I decided to go to college and get married. Imagine that. I said, "Well, you guys..."
I don't usually hear those in the same sentence.
Yeah. I said, "Good luck, fellas." And they were on the road, and they were literally eating cheese crackers and peanuts. They were starving. And lo and behold, they get a phone call from a guy in Atlanta. And he said, "How would you boys like to open up for a national act?" And they said, "We'd like to open up for anybody. Hey, we need a gig." Well, that national act worked out to be Jackie Wilson.
Oh, wow.
And the guys went and auditioned with his bass player, and they became his backup band and traveled around with him for 2 years until he had his stroke. You remember Jackie Wilson had a stroke, and he wound up in a nursing home, and that's where he passed away. Well, but during that period of time, their big shot for Hot Smokin Brass was going to be to open up for him or perform on the Wolfman Jack show from a national TV show. That was going to be their shot to get recognized nationally, and he had a stroke before they had the opportunity to do that. And anyway, the group kind of dissolved after that, but then they got back together 10 years later, and I was lucky enough to do a gig with them to fill in for their lead vocalist. It's like having a reunion about 10 years later. But that was where it started, and from that, in 1983, I was working with a trio, and we were in Huntington, West Virginia, working at the Holiday Inn.
Were you living there at the time?
No. We were just traveling. I was living in the big town of China Grove on a farm with a couple of horses and a log barn and a little stone house. It was a little house on the prairie.
I've got to ask, how do you find a group in West Virginia then? If you're
we were playing there. We had a booking at the Holiday Inn, and it was a female pianist and a drummer and myself. That was it. We were playing easy listen music and just accommodating a lot of different gigs. But at this particular room, I was approached by a fellow, and he asked me how I'd like to front a 10-piece show band. And I said, tell me more. Sounds good, you know. And next thing I knew, I was involved with a 10-piece show band, and the name of that group was called Trademark, and they had been together for a number of years. They originated out of Missouri, and they traveled all over the country, and their band just folded, and the leader of the band wanted to put it back together before anybody knew it had fallen apart. So I met some strangers on the road in Huntington, West Virginia. We were all told to meet at X on the spot and for this audition, and I got the gig. We put the band together there and wound up going to all places, Minneapolis, Minnesota. And on the way, before we got there, we stopped in Rochester, New York, and played at a Hilton and played. This was a show band, and they were known for their vocal. They had vocals like the Manhattan Transfer. I mean, they had really tight, close vocals. And the leader of the band came from a showbiz family. Learned a lot from him. But anyway, after we were in Minneapolis for 3 or 4 months, we were supposed to be there for a month. And during the course of being there, I wound up selling my farm in China Grove because my wife told me at the time, she said, if you want to continue to be married, I'm coming to Minneapolis. So anyway, I said,
I got to tell you something.
Yeah.
The other night when I made the first post that we would be doing a podcast together, one of the first responses I got was, I want to know how he came about being in Minneapolis. And so you're answering that question right now for one of your fans.
Well, we were there for a while, and I loved it because it was like a little New York at the time. Now, I don't think I could live there now because of the political situation. We won't get into that. But at the time we were there, I happened to land at the height of Prince's, the highest point in his career.
Yeah.
I mean, Purple Rain had just come out, and man, every musician on planet Earth wanted to come to Minneapolis. And
yeah.
I was ahead of the curve. Didn't mean to be. Just worked out that way. But I met so many musicians. I met all the guys in his band. I met him and didn't even know who he was the night I met him. Yeah, it was a little embarrassing. And so many great musicians there in that town. It's just like just incredible how many great horn bands there, especially in R&B funk bands like Prince. As a matter of fact, the group that I landed in Minneapolis with, that show band, decided to go to Dubuque, Iowa, and take a long-term gig there. And I told them I had no desire to live in Dubuque, Iowa. Nothing against Dubuque, Iowa. I just thought they had more corn than anything else there.
Yeah. Okay.
And I like Minneapolis, so I stayed there and put my own cover band together. And I think one of them was called the Ritz, R-I-T-Z, Gary Lowder and the Ritz. And anyway, we did
I heard that one before.
And I had one called Syndication while I was there over a period of time. And met a booking agent who walked up and handed me, like, he said, here, who's going to book your band? Here's 26 contracts right here for good money. I said, I think you're going to be doing it. So anyway, that lasted for quite some time. And
about how long were you in Minnesota?
I was there 18 years.
18 years. Okay.
18 years. My kids are still there. I have a son and a daughter. My daughter is involved in a church there called Eagle Brook. It's a 25,000 member church. They got six different campuses. And she sings like a songbird. And my son has a ministry up there called Sound of Hope. He plays every instrument. His son plays several, and his wife is a vocalist, and so they're all involved in the gospel music there. And I don't get to see them as nearly as much as I should or ought to, but
That's awesome that they inherited all
they
that
did.
talent.
They did.
Wonderful.
My daughter has got some incredible videos. The church she goes to, that church produces videos like you see on MTV, except for it's all gospel stuff. And they're produced on some on location, some designated locations. But she has got some incredible songs. I'm really proud of her. And I've posted quite a few of them on Facebook in the past. Anyway, as I continue to play with my cover band, I had the opportunity to come back and forth to North Carolina, come to the beach here. I'd come here for a few weeks. I had a place here where I'd come and stay for a couple of weeks and then go back. But during the course of living there, my bass player His name was Sonny Thompson, and one of the keyboards that I had hired, his name was Tommy Elms.
Mm-hmm.
Both of these guys came into rehearsal and they said, Gary, we got some good news and bad news. He said, I said, well, tell me the good news. He said, well, the good news is we just got a gig to play in Prince's new band called the New Power Generation. I said, well, what's the bad news? They said, we're quitting the band. We're quitting your band. I said, well, good for you. And anyway, so those guys hooked up with Prince, the one and only, and worked with him for a number of years. And they're still very active in music up there. They're great players. The keyboard player was like light years ahead of his age and playing, and the bass player actually grew up with Prince and taught him how to play guitar. But it never had hired him in the past. But when he reformed his band called the New Power Generation, he put both of those in the group, and it was amazing to watch him come into an audition and get to know him, and then years later see him in Prince's video. But after that, shortly after that, I had enough of cold weather. I said I can't take it no more, and I just decided to come on back to the Carolinas with no intentions to get back in the music business. I just was going to come back here. In 2005, I'd actually retired. At the same time I was playing music there, I was working for a legal publishing company. They're called Reuters, Ruiter, something like that.
Yeah, okay.
It used to be called West Publishing when I worked for them, and it's a 140-plus-year-old company. They're part of history. They're the people who actually create and produce legal books. All the material that attorneys used to use. Of course, they use CD-ROMs now or the internet. And they had another service called Westlaw, which as soon as an attorney passes a bar, they sign them up for Westlaw. That's
heard of Westlaw.
That's paid information that they get off the internet to keep them up to date on what's going on in court when they go to defend the case. So anyway,
how long did you work with it?
That was about a 9-year run, and as I was playing music, I was still working there, and that was, musicians don't typically do a 9-to-5 job, and they don't get paid vacations, and they don't get paid holidays. And when the lady was sitting there interviewing me, telling me, well, you'll get about 8 or 9 paid holidays, and you'll get about 6 days and a couple personal days, and I added them all up. I said, hell, I'm not going to be working but about 2 or 3 months. So I said, I'm in. And
that was a whole new lifestyle for you.
Oh, yeah, I was intimidated. I did find out one thing through that experience. I don't think you can take a square peg and put it in a round hole. And, and me and the corporate world, it's just something there we don't, it never quite worked. But the last month that I worked there, I had a half a dozen accounts that I would call on, and it was all attorneys' offices. I would speak to the secretary usually, but sometimes the attorney, and we'd tell him about the latest, greatest book that he needed to purchase from us for his whole law firm. And a lot of these firms up north that have 20, 25, maybe 50 attorneys working for them, and they'd buy a book that costs $300 or $400. I thought that's how this company made their money. No, they didn't make their money that way. They made their money by like when they call a university and fill up their law library, and then the next year they'd send them the new subscriptions because they have to update everything. That's where they made all the money.
Yeah, okay.
The last year I worked there, I think it was University of North Carolina, and they had just completed building a law library.
Oh, they got a great law school.
And and they had just completed the new one, and I just happened to get that account back. And when I called back, the lady, she told me she was so glad that I had called her again, and because they had just started opening their law library, and they had to renew all their subscriptions. Anyway, to make a long story short there, I bagged about $430,000 deal, sending all of her subscriptions to her. And I said, I know what I'm going to do now. I'm going to finish this sale, and then I'm retiring. I'm going to be done with this job, and that's when I came back to North Carolina. And
so, what did you do when you got back?
When I got back to North Carolina, I had a condo in Ocean Isle. Let's see, wait a minute. No, where was it? Sunset Beach. and it was right on the golf course. And I loved this little bachelor pad, and it looked right out at the pond. You could look at the pond and the golf course and the alligator laying right on one of the greens there.
Oh,
And it's
okay.
like 2 miles from Sunset Beach, and I stayed there for a while. Then I bought a house in Charlotte, and that was about maybe a month later. I don't think I'd been here but a couple of weeks, and I got a call from an individual who wanted to know if I would be interested in helping a group out, the entertainers, on a gig in Florence. And I said, no, not really. I hadn't played in a while, and I don't really want to get back into it.
And how long had it been since you had played at that point?
Well, it hadn't been any time, because I was playing right up to the time I left Minneapolis.
You still doing some gigs then?
Yeah, I was doing gigs until about a month before I got ready to leave.
Oh, okay.
But I just wanted to give it a break, and I didn't want to move back here and just jump back into music. I just wanted to relax and enjoy getting locked back into the neighborhood I was going to be living in, and doing nothing really. And I kept getting phone calls, and I said, well, I'll tell you what, okay, I'll come. I'll come help you. And I've known Earl Dawkins. We grew up together, actually.
Oh,
when I lived there.
Okay.
And he was playing with a group called the Aqualads, and I was playing with the Twilights, and we kept bumping into each other. But I never really got to know him until I moved here at the beach, and then we kept running into each other. But and from that point on, let's see. And like I say, having no intentions to really, I think I helped him for about a year.
Okay.
I said, here I am again. And then I got a call from Mark Roberts, and when he had his band, and he wanted to know why I wouldn't come and talk to him about playing. I said, well, I'm working with these other guys. And he says, well, we're a lot closer, and you don't have to drive to Charlotte every time you go to a gig. And he said, well, why don't you just come up to Wilmington and talk to me and the guys? And I said, oh, well, okay, I'll do that. And he said, well, we'll bring a tuxedo and change. I said, why? He said, we're going to take some group pictures. I said, well, wait a minute. I said, I'm not telling you I'm going to join your band. He said,
But you hadn't even done the interview, and he'd already put you in the group picture.
Yeah. He said, well, bring it anyway. And I did, and wound up joining the band.
Wow, what a great.
So, but and we had a good little run, and then after that I decided. After that I met some guys that I don't know what the name of the band was originally, but it was Jerry Shooter and Roger Taylor, and it was these two guys, and they were playing in a group, and they were playing these little hole in the wall gigs. But I noticed that they both were pretty good vocalists, and we got together one afternoon and just started singing some stuff, and it sounded like we had rehearsed before we got together. We were singing this great harmony, and we were looking at each other like, wow, does this sound good to you guys? It sounds good to me. And we weren't even trying, and wound up being the Carolina Breakers after we decided to hook up and get a few gigs. And then we hired Keith Pollard. He's got the low voice and played trombone. I played trumpet, and then we hired Larry. I'm embarrassed. I can't remember Larry's last name. He used to be the drummer for B.J. Thomas. And
okay.
And he lives in Lumberton, in that area. And he wanted to get off the road. He said B.J. Thomas didn't play but about half a dozen times a year. He was getting ready to retire.
Yeah.
And an incredible drummer. And so he was our drummer, and it was Jerry Shooter and Mr. Boardwalk Angel, as I call him all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And Roger Taylor and Keith Pollard. And we had a great run with that band, and people just loved it because of the vocal, anything like Alabama or anything with close harmonies in it like that, we'd just kill it. So that lasted for a while. Then I said, I don't know how I got off, and they were a track band.
Okay.
Nothing against track bands, but if I'm going to play music, it's got to be live. It's got to be the real deal for me. And I told them, I said, look, guys, I love you, but I got to put my own thing together, and it's got to be live. And
So, we've had that conversation before. That
yeah,
you perform best live. I mean,
yeah.
you get the feel that the live band gives you, and you give it to the audience.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, that was the beginning of Smokin Hot, and I think that took place in about 2012, 2014, somewhere about. We've been together about 14 years now. I mean, the band, the name of that band's been around 15 years, and we've gone through a handful of people over the years, and we've got a lineup now that seems to really be clicking on all cylinders. We're all happy about, and but that's pretty much what got me to the point I am right now.
Well, what do you think beach music? You're in beach music now.
Yeah.
What is beach music?
I think beach music is a term. It's a little ambiguous. To me, beach music will always be the creation from groups like the Thames, the Platters, the Drifters, the Coasters, that old R&B soul. I think that was the start of it. I think that was the birth of it. But since I've lived here, I've seen songs like, for example, just to give you an example, from one extreme to the other, say a song by a guy named Gnarls Barkley. Remember the song Crazy?
I remember, yeah.
Crazy?
Absolutely.
I mean, I've seen people shag to that as well as they shag to Under the Boardwalk or Up on the Roof.
I never considered that song, but yeah, I could see that.
Right. And that song was, at one time, was nominated for National Shag Song of the Year.
Yeah.
And as long as the song has the right parameters for people to dance to it, it can almost be corralled into a term of beach music in our area. It wouldn't mean anything to most people in other areas of the United States, but in North and South Carolina, Virginia, anything it's in that groove that people can dance to, you could call it a beach music song if you want to. I mean, as long as it works.
Yeah, we're sitting in a situation where we're about done here, but I've got to know, what do you think the future of beach music is, and what do we need to do as promoters and artists to make sure we have that future?
Well, I hear people say all the time. I mean, all the time. It's not a year that's gone by that the comment is, the beach music or the shaggers are a dying breed, and in some respect and regard, that's very true. But whenever I see the young shaggers out here, the little kids dancing, I mean, it makes me feel like somebody's trying the best they can to keep it alive. And I think that's what it's going to take to pass the torch to the next generation, because the beach music shaggers it is a dying breed.
It is, and I think you're exactly right. I think some of our local shaggers have put together groups to encourage it among the youth.
Yeah.
We picked up some young DJs in the beach music world.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to keep it it can extend our listening base.
Yeah.
And if we extend the radio listening base, those people are coming to see you. And I noticed the other night when I came to there was nowhere to sit. There was hardly anywhere to stand. And you did such a great show. I mean, you got such a variety of songs, and you are a large part of the heart of beach music. And we want to thank you for that.
Well, thank you for saying that.
I mean, it doesn't just happen. It takes integrity that you have for beach music.
Well, I love, people ask me, how are you going to do this? And I said, well, until I don't have fun doing it anymore. And I hadn't lost the fun of it yet, and I enjoy doing the gospel shows that Harold Smith and I do. I'm my keyboard player, everybody knows Harold. He's got a great song out now. Was nominated for the Smoothie Award, which got his competition cut out for him. But anyway, I love the gospel shows that we do. And as a matter of fact, I got one coming up this Sunday at Restoration Church again, just myself.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm just going to do a few songs, but you know what? I feel like I'm very blessed to have been able to sing as much and as long as I have. And I'm very thankful for that. So
I think what you do in the gospel world is great also. I mean, personally, I came up starting out when I was 12 years old in a youth gospel quartet.
Yeah.
Grew up into that. Love the gospel music.
Right.
And a lot of people come and get gospel music right to where you are.
Oh, yeah. So many people do.
Yeah, man, it teaches you a lot. Listen, thank you so much for coming
Thank
out.
you.
I love the story you got. I tell you what, people are gonna love this. I'll be putting out some PR on it, and people are gonna love it. I love it. I love hearing how you got here, what you did, and your story is so diverse. I mean, that makes it wonderful. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll be, or you can listen on Spotify, or you can watch on YouTube. You'll be getting a notice on Thursday when this releases.
Check it out.
Thanks a lot, folks.